have to go to.
Okay, we're now being recorded. So how do we officially open?
I guess you should call it to order.
Call the meeting to order. John Knight, I was the new chair of the subcommittee.
Yeah.
And Alyssa McKenzie, and we have Barb Ackenbaum ex officio joining us for our discussion. And I guess we'll just jump right in. Hopefully everyone had a chance to take a look at the focus group research findings, or if not, I can go through them. But
well, do you want to say what you think is most important about the research findings?
Sure.
Just because it's long. I don't mean to like.
No, well, I think we did a good job of summarizing them in the
documents.
well, in the report that we put together for the commission.
Right. Okay, you're right.
Where
you're right.
Sort of, I'll just review quickly, but sort of the key findings were: one, the lack of sufficient affordable, senior-friendly, close to downtown housing, which unfortunately is outside our remit. Two, social connection matters greatly, and there are many organizations, programs, and activities available in New Canaan, but information about them is often by word of mouth, which limits outreach and leaves some seniors uninformed and disconnected. Mental health and well-being are concerns. There remain stigmas in talking about mental health, but they appear to be diminishing. Many in the 60 to 69 age group are juggling full-time and part-time work while caring for aging parents, partners, or adult children, and stressing about retirement transitions. There's a desire for more intergenerational engagement and mentoring, but the opportunities are perceived to be limited outside of faith-based communities. And for those in the know, the town health department, the human service department, staying put were viewed as highly effective and trusted resources. Community assets like the Y, the library, Lapham, and Men's Club at Waverly Park were viewed as beneficial to mental health. That was sort of the summary, and then briefly, Alyssa, I brought didn't think to send you in advance, just a brief summary of some of the foundation grants that were recent and town initiatives.
Oh, great.
For focusing in on this. So the Community Foundation back in August, they put out 2 RFPs for the Behavioral Health Fund, Community Behavioral Health Fund. One was to support systems level work in the behavioral health space, and the other was to support programming that addresses the findings from the health and well-being survey. And so a couple of the ones that sort of picked up on themes that we were finding from the focus groups was: one, there's a systems level change grant to Laurel House of $50,000, which is to support the creation of the Lower Fairfield County Behavioral Health Network. So that's hoping to bridge gaps in care coordination and sort of coming up as a comprehensive resource and support for Lower Fairfield County. So I think that tapping into that rather than creating something new will be critical, because they will have a much broader picture, and also to the extent that people might be interested in resources that were outside of New Canaan to preserve a bit more confidentiality or privacy, that will be helpful to them.
Can we talk about? We can talk about them just for a sec.
Sure.
So how do you see this? Do you see this as? I mean, it's a big grant. It's a nice sized grant. Do you see them developing like materials, or actually can't we hire people?
So I think their plan is they are already a resource center. Laurel House is for those types of services, but I think my understanding is that they're actually going to go out in the community, and they're going to sort of every 6 months be re-engaging with providers, with other people, so that instead of just, they'll have a much more detailed knowledge of the community and how the support services might link together or be used for people. So it's today you call up and they're a big resource center, and I think they're one of the places that Marcy would refer people to in terms of looking for resources. But this was going to take it to another level. So it was going to actually have them much more engaged. Instead of just receiving calls in, that they were actually proactively out in the community and making sure, is so-and-so still doing X? what are
The other
Yeah,
agencies, what all the
yeah,
other
2
agencies.
years ago, we had a list that this person was doing this, or this agency was
Yeah.
doing it, are they still
Oh,
doing
that
it,
okay,
or are
thank
they
you.
no longer even here?
Then they probably, and they have this list of resources, right, that's constantly
Yeah.
updated, is what you're saying.
So I think it might even be the kind of thing that, at a future meeting, once they have the sort of up and
Yeah.
running, or just to have them come in
Mhm.
and just talk to us about how they envision it working and what they're finding. Or they may even do something, let's say, at the library in partnership with the community foundation, as a follow-up
That would make
to
sense too, yeah.
the change.
Okay, thank you.
That's great.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Then the second, under the ones that were responsive to the survey, one, they're more, there are a couple of them that I guess that are more focused around parents generally, and not necessarily seniors, but there is one that's going to focus on the sandwich generation.
Oh, yeah, I saw
So-
that.
It was $15,000 to family centers to launch sandwich generation support groups in New Canaan. So to support individuals in town who are both raising children and caring for aging parents. So that, where at least that was a group of people who was feeling stress.
Yeah.
That'll be, I think, helpful, and they also, with the support groups as opposed to just a presentation, it may help build a sense of community and shoulders to lean on, people to talk to. It probably only touches on, maybe the 60 to 65
Mhm.
groups, because I think most of the sandwich generation is probably in the 40s to late 50s, where they're caring both for children,
Right.
aging parents. But
So you're saying it's leaving out that group, or?
well, I guess what I was thinking about is that we have in general, trying to make sure that the seniors who are in that sort of 60 to 69, or other people who are
Oh,
feeling,
you know, for our.
who are
Yeah.
stressed and other things, that,
Right.
looking at some of these are mindfulness programs, some
Not
of
gonna
them
work
are
for that.
managing. Yeah, or we can see what they're doing for a younger population and figure out how,
Oh,
and
that's
we
good.
might
Yeah,
modify it and then use either the same or similar programming to try and address a slightly older population, which would be part of our own group, either doing it from something at Lapham or the other ways, but
sure,
we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel.
right.
Well, and the quality of life of seniors that are being cared for in some capacity by a sandwich generation child is definitely impacted by the quality of life of that child.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. But, and I think, as I mentioned in the email that I sent out, the volunteer fair seems to be a big success. And so that's something that they're going to now hopefully be doing on an annual basis.
That's great.
They needed a bigger room, it was so, crowded. Well, it was really crowded.
Yeah, I heard it's awesome.
And yeah,
And then Marcy had started this monthly program at Lapham called Life Reimagined, which was for people who are sort of in that thinking about retirement
yeah,
age. And so that, again, it's a step in the right direction to try. Now, then we get back to the marketing, publicizing, people taking advantage of it. But like those were all positive developments. And then it was interesting to see, and why I asked about on the earlier call, the loneliness and isolation program that they did at Schoolhouse Apartments.
yeah, yes.
Because part of that was also, and there wasn't really time to follow up on it, but one of the things that we had heard in the focus groups, that the people at Schoolhouse Apartment really don't do any of the programs at Lapham because of stigma.
There's a stigma, yeah.
Stigma or socialization issues. And so one would be seeing, there's obviously people at the inn and other places who might be feeling loneliness too, and even though they're in a quote unquote community, it's, is that really addressing those needs? Or like my mom, who when she was in her nursing home, they had lots of programming, but she never went. that she wasn't interested in it, and what she really wanted was somebody coming in from outside who would
Yeah.
sit with her at a much more personalized interaction than would be get by going down and being part of a group listening to somebody play the guitar for half an hour.
Right, yeah, no, that's,
Although my grandfather at the inn was adamant that he didn't participate in anything, and then once he died, we went through his room and there were VHS tapes and DVDs of all the activities at the inn that he was participating in. He just didn't tell us. He didn't want us to know he was having a good time.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's very good.
when did he pass away, your grandfather?
2019.
So what was his name?
Jim McKenzie. He had huge eyebrows, so you probably saw him.
Yeah, I wasn't seeing, but I saw him at something. Maybe
Yeah, he was a little cantankerous, but being stubborn helps you live a long time, I guess.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I think there's a lot going on as we're aware. It's just hard sometimes to wrap our arms around it and figure out how to sort of bundle it and package it in a way where we can sort of redistribute it and be sure that it's being communicated broadly to the right audiences and that. But I think, I guess my own thought is that if we can come up with our recommendations, we could socialize them with Marcy and with Amy first, just to make sure that, they're on board for that.
Yeah.
And then, assuming that they're on board with that we would just then either present it in March or in April, and then figure out where to go from there.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
I think it is helpful overall that Marcy now will be wearing the two hats.
Yes.
And there's a transition, so.
Yeah. No,
and Aggie and it's Kathy Collins, right? I know that they are so willing to try anything at least once too. So it's just a bandwidth, right? Capacity.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I was a little concerned about Marcy trying to do both jobs because I thought she might have to be there to run all those programs, and they're just like whirling dervishes, like, oh, gotta do this, gotta set this up. And fortunately, they're gonna hire somebody to work with Kathy.
Yeah, thank God.
But I think also if Marcy said, well, maybe I'll go over there one day a week and just be there and work from there. And I thought, well, that would be really great for
Definitely.
that population, people to get to know her, and
Exactly.
she can get to know them and see what their needs are.
Right, it's not a stranger from the health department or the human services department calling and making sure you're okay because they've determined that you're vulnerable.
You're worried about it.
Sure.
So
I guess I'll open it up to the two of you in terms of what you think, in terms of recommendations, or we have lots of lists loading.
I know there's so many.
I think because Jen and I are separately doing the AARP thing, we can take that off of this list.
Yeah.
So that we don't need to worry about that as an additional item here for us.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the ones that we've, they're in that, you just were showing us the report, right? I just want to remember what Jim was on his list.
Oh, we're on Jim's list?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, if I was, yeah.
Where's it?
Here it is, okay, yeah, that would be good, so that's kind of where you would start, I think, right, and say,
Yeah, we could.
I mean, maybe
Well,
start
or-
what you guys, how you see.
Well,
this.
or unless I don't know if you
Yeah.
want to react to all of these, and where you come out on, which
Yeah.
you think. Because
Yeah, I'm in agreement with.
I had my original list, Barb put together a list.
Well, I just was trying to be, I was being objective, like, this seems to be what's coming through, but that.
Yeah.
Senior housing is one of them, and that's not really something you can address, so.
No, yeah, I was looking most recently at Barb's. I think, well, I wonder if the senior housing gets lumped under the New Canaan Seniors Council to brainstorm ideas.
Yeah.
And
We were just talking about that before we started, the council and
Yeah.
what
So
John has some
I thought
thoughts.
if we thought of looking into, I think it would be worthwhile looking into seeing if people think there's a benefit to creating one.
Right.
If they feel like there's a gap currently in the way we think about seniors issues, or whether even just keeping our subcommittee alive and coordinating, we could sort of perform that function. I was reluctant without socializing the issue more broadly to want to actually recommend establishing one.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that when Jen and I were looking at the ARP applications, there are some other towns who do have
Like
seniors
council.
councils that
Yeah.
include people from different parts of government and then also from nonprofits, but that seemed to me that it could be a lot of heavy lifting to
Yeah.
get it off the ground.
Right.
And if there wasn't strong support for it outside of us, I didn't think I'd be concerned that it wouldn't go anywhere, it would die a quick and painful
Yeah.
death.
I mean,
Yeah, well, sorry.
go ahead, no, go ahead.
I was just wondering if that sort of is maintained under our subcommittee with a dedication to doing more focus groups. They don't have to be necessarily as intense as the focus groups that we did with Nina, but maybe it's just informally somehow getting the pulse. I mean, we utilize LAPM or whatever we do, but just making sure that we're like one of our tenants is making sure that we're constantly getting feedback.
Yeah.
Because I think that was what came through to me was all the focus groups seemed so grateful that we were listening to them.
Yeah.
Sure. So rather than, I mean, because one idea would be have a round table with all the people running all these senior organizations, or instead you have just a round table with residents who, have, are concerned and try and, address some of those concerns, or just, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
I feel like as long as we can have people understanding that there is a direct line to having your concerns heard,
Mhm.
that it doesn't need to be, I think a council just gets pretty bureaucratic as well. Like it's just,
Yeah.
it's difficult. And I think we might be able to get more done, or at least help connect people to the right people to get things done if it's a little bit more informal.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
It's like,
Yeah.
Kelsey didn't say earlier, but sort of, okay, so they did this one-off thing at Schoolhouse, so what came out of that? What did the seniors who were there?
Yeah.
Who would
Yeah.
like more stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And if they suggested things, were they gonna follow through on it? Or was it up to Schoolhouse and Partners to try and do it? Or was it's just like, well, we want to at least let you know we're listening.
Yeah.
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 And I think so, yeah, and it is kind of a unique place, the Schoolhouse, because they do have their own personal resource person in place, and Peggy runs it. And they do bring a lot of programming in there, so they may not want to go out as much as, I mean, it did sound like though, she said, I wonder if it's worth asking her kind of what you learned.
But at least it seemed to me it sort of picks up on, I guess, under Barb's recommendations, it would sort of be 1, 2, and 4, which is, we want to promote more senior and caregiver specific mental health and well-being programming. We want to promote awareness among seniors of opportunities for social connectivity. And then to the extent that people are suffering from behavioral health or mental health issues, that promoting awareness of things that are available, that are local accessible prices, non-price dependent, but at least sort of those kinds of themes.
Yes, I think.
So how would we do that?
I mean,
Go ahead.
I was just, I mean, like, it's helpful that, is it Kelsey that's going to be doing more marketing for the health department?
Right, yeah.
I don't know if we could utilize her at all. I mean, not necessarily on social media, but if there's a way to market to people in terms of how they are receiving their information. I mean, the thing that popped into my head when she mentioned that Kathy was doing the Parkinson's group was, can we have more groups at LAPM for people, support groups? But yeah.
I think fundamentally, I mean, part of it is a question of how much involvement do we want to create for ourselves?
Right.
Right.
Because I think a lot of it is sitting down with Marcy, sitting down with Aggie, sitting down with different groups and finding out in terms of can we do a better job of identifying where the gaps are?
Yeah.
And do we need to think about, let's say, for example, if we wanted to focus on marketing and communications, do we need to think about we need a consultant, and maybe do we need to ask the community foundation for a grant to take a look at the way that these things are, all of the overlaps with what the library does, what Lapham does. If you look at the calendar that's on the Chamber of Commerce website, if you look at what the New Canaanite publishes, if you look what's on the Sentinel email, there's so much, there's a lot of stuff out there, but coming back to the original is if people aren't on, how many people are not on the internet? So they're missing out because there's no longer really printed information, or town players, or because there's so much content out there. And
part of me, when I took over, when we were talking a lot about seniors, I kept thinking, could we do once a year do a mailing to all these people 60 and older and just say, here are the resources in our community. I mean, I don't, just an awareness thing, it wouldn't necessarily, nobody would probably.
But I think if we could identify the gaps, like who's not getting the information that they like, then we can, so
outreach.
Like an example is, once a month, did we do a small printed flyer that is included for Meals on Wheels recipients?
Right.
So that whoever's driving could drop it off and could spend 10 minutes with them. And if they know that Mr. Jones is interested in X, Y, and Z, they can say, hey, in 3 weeks there's going to be this. Are you interested? Would you like to register for it? And will you need transportation? So I think some of it is, if we can identify some of the gaps, are there natural partners that are already there or staying put? Is staying put really talking about just its events, or staying put also talking about other events that would be of interest to its senior population, which are out there? And then is there someone who's going to chaperone someone? They'll pick up Mrs. Smith and Mr. Jones and they'll take them.
What's amazing is what Jackie's newsletter is. I don't know if you get it. The
Lapham one?
No, Jackie Louie.
Oh no, I don't.
Oh yeah, she's got. You should ask her to put on the list because she just publicizes everything going on in the community and they're all they're like New Cares, and they're not, they might be school related, but it's about 10, 15 programs, and it comes in an email, and it's just a really easy access to what's happening. You can just scroll down and say, oh, my daughter might, stuff like camps during spring break, just really things that are very focused on youth, but then again, if they're not getting emails, that's not going to help you. But
so I sort of just wrestle with, I want the recommendations to get other people thinking and about starting to help us connect the dots and come up with suggested solutions, either for small parts of the problem or big parts of the problem. But I think it's hard. I want to be sure that they don't feel like we're putting an extra load of stuff on their plate when they're all busy.
And you're talking about specifically the staff, but also
and us.
Yeah, but it does seem like if we focus on the promotion and the marketing, that the rest of sort of the problems that we're trying to solve should become, solutions should become clearer, right? Because then we would know. And I think, if I remember correctly, even the people who had an awareness that a lot is going on in the town during the focus groups, they didn't really know how to access it all.
Yeah.
So what is it like snail mail?
Well, that's what I mean, honestly.
Is it a postcard?
Maybe a postcard, or maybe
there's a letter.
we used to do like happy spring and we drop off flowers and, you know, we were looking for it.
It could be, it could also, I guess it depends on whether they are living independently,
Yeah,
Right.
or is it,
Yeah.
if there's good, like if there's a program that's done at the library and it would be a lot of fun for the seniors at the inn.
Right.
Need to get whoever's the sponsor of that program to be thinking about, is this something that could be done also, let's say at the inn or at the men's club, or, you know,
Right.
rather than just as a one-off, is it,
that's a
to
good
sort
thought.
of provide more, you know, to make it available to the broader town, I just don't know.
Mhm. Well, it's almost like we should go get everybody's newsletter. I mean, just the ones that like Lapland and you know, and Jackie and Stainfoot, and just see what they're publishing and see what activity in the library. I mean, you could do that, maybe see what they're promoting and then decide whether, you know, some of those might be appropriate.
I mean, Tom had suggested that we create an information hub,
Right.
but I hope this is still recording.
Here's on your news on it.
We just got a message that the cloud recording was now available for viewing, so we were worried that
Oh, I think it's the
it just,
black one.
yeah.
The commission meeting.
Okay. So he had talked about establishing an information hub, but I'm not sure where it would reside
And what format, because
and who's going to keep it up to
Well,
date.
that's the thing, you know, that's why you love what Laura House is doing, because they're gonna keep everything up to date.
Because
Unfortunately, that's not so much the population.
I know the Community Foundation and the Behavioral Alliance have wrestled with, you know, having a central hub for all of the resources, behavioral health resources, and where is it lodged? And initially it was lodged with the police department, and then it was going to be switched over to the Behavioral Health Alliance, and they were thinking about, well, should it really be at Laurel House, and we rely on what they're doing. So there's a real question about, you know, who provides the structure for it and then the upkeep and maintenance.
Right, and we don't wanna do that, cause that's gonna be work, and we don't wanna ask the staff to do that.
Right.
Unless we find somebody on the commission who said, I wanna do this, but
Right.
they have to be a volunteer.
It's a lot of work. And is a website even the best medium?
Right. So that's why I think if we structure the recommendations around things like improving the, you know,
In communication or,
the information flows, or, you know, for improving, identifying gaps, who's not getting stuff. Can there be better coordination among all, you know, things, if we sort of think about that rather than saying, let's do a central hub.
yeah, no, I agree, I think to me, Laurel House, that's the closest thing to doing a hub, right?
Yeah.
What they're trying to do.
Right. Or at least give them a chance to see
Yeah, how that
what's
goes.
created before we're
Yeah.
reinventing the wheel at the same time.
I think on the senior housing issue, which everyone knows is an issue, I think other than figuring out, you know, whether it's the Board of Selectmen or whether it's some other group, I think we should just figure out who the groups are, and we should just make them aware that that was, you know, it's not a surprise, but
Yeah,
it was interesting that where we were more focused around behavioral health issues, that
that came up first for all three.
and it came up in a way where it suggested that it was creating anxiety for older residents because they would like to do this and it's just not an option that's available for them.
Well, I wonder if this AARP process, and we find out maybe that, hey, you don't have enough, you know, whatever, we thought it might be affordable housing.
Well, they talk about, their processes, they take data points from all over, like 23 different things, the census, all this other stuff. It goes into some algorithm and then it spits out
So that's
a
not.
number for,
Mhm.
all the communities around the United States.
Mm.
It was more interesting that in Connecticut, our rank is 52 currently. And nationwide, the communities range from 25 to 75. So we're slightly above the average. And the top towns in Connecticut are like 57 or 56.
Oh, interesting.
So
Okay.
it's not, and we didn't know what the lag is in gathering the data. So does it take into account the new library, or does it, or is it an issue because we don't really have public transportation beyond the train, or did they know about Get Up?
Yeah.
So it was more, I don't know that there's much
It's gonna
there,
be transferable. Yeah, okay. Just
But-
thought.
but I think it's still worth our, even if people say, yeah, we know, at least we've communicated those findings
Mhm.
to the relevant town.
So we're talking about, so maybe that's a way to think about things too, is what information can we bring to the town government that
Mhm.
it might be meaningful and actionable,
Yeah,
not by us, but.
Mhm.
or, and then they'll say, yeah, we're looking into this, and unfortunately, there's not a lot
Yeah.
we can do.
Which is what they'll say, but at least we've, which is what we've kind of reinforced it.
It's hard when the new development across from Swirl,
Mm.
the
Apartments, yeah,
3-bedroom,
$2 million.
3,400 square foot penthouse is going for $6 million.
Oh my.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not exactly affordable.
Right, and make it affordable versus like, the state definition versus
Yeah.
the citizen trying to just stay in town.
Right.
It's a different definition, but it's equally challenging.
Yeah, especially if you want a primary bedroom on the first floor and like the
Right.
seamless entry, and
Right.
those are the more expensive.
Mm-hmm. And these don't exist, right? And you're competing with first time homeowners too, who want a smaller house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we think one of Tom's ideas was, should the town create a mental health policy statement?
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm not that familiar with them, but I don't know whether that's something that's worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure we could find examples of them,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
but, or maybe is it, um,
Well,
maybe it's something to look into, or,
Mhm.
work with, talk to to Amy and to Marcy about whether they think it's something that would be beneficial to the town.
Yeah. And maybe that's more of a long-term goal, like born out of conversations that we have
Mhm.
as a subcommittee with seniors.
I mean, for some of these things, I feel like the Behavioral Health Alliance and
Right.
also the Community Foundation through its Behavioral Health Committee sort of have taken more of a community-wide approach and leadership and convening role with these issues, so that if they haven't felt a need to do something along those lines, that, not sure that, maybe they thought about it specifically, maybe not, but
Yeah.
they probably would have a better ideas whether it would be helpful or whether it would just involve a lot of work and then.
Right, well, it's kind of like we spent a lot of time on our priorities, a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
And we did finally get to where we wanted to be, and they're excellent, we'll have to dig them out again after I'm done being chair.
So-
No, but I mean, it was very valuable, but
What would
that
be,
might
what would
be
be
the
your
best
three
perspective.
top, what would be your 3 top recommendations and 4 top? Which ones did you like the best?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Of between yours, the two of yours, Tom's and Jim's?
No, or just any of them.
Oh,
Or
just
even
any of them?
free for all. Free
It's
for
good
all.
idea.
I think somehow centralizing all the information is of utmost important because people don't know what they don't know, and we don't know what people don't know. I feel like that might be my number one priority. I mean, mm, I think however we make sure that older adults continue to feel like they're heard, like whatever that looks like, is a priority.
Uh-huh.
Um, because even it's hard because like the idea of the hub or whatever that looks like, centralizing that includes the awareness and all of the promotion of kind of all of the priorities to me.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I think that goes more toward the social connectivity aspect of it. I mean, if people don't feel a need to do it, they don't have to go, but for those
right.
who are interested, it goes for that. I think the behavioral health resources piece of it would come through human services or making people aware of the resources at Laurel House or making them aware of the assessment program, things like that.
Mhm.
That's not just for seniors, that's kind of broader for the community, right? And I'm saying it's important for seniors to know about it, but.
We could within it figure out whether there's the possibility of a senior focus. I mean, there are organizations like Elder House in Norwalk where you can drop people off for the day, and that gives a caregiver a respite for a period of time and other things. Right. I'll send you separately on a sort of related note. The community foundation, when we were doing the grant things, there was an organization called Stanford Youth Mental Health Alliance. But for youth mental health, they put together this wonderful little trifold piece of paper that had all the resources that were available. So outpatient counseling and treatment, addiction services, LGBTQ plus affirming resources, eating disorders.
So maybe it's an actual physical directory.
It's actual physical, recommendation.
That's kind
this
of
little trifold, but it was
right.
And it also had as part of it services in English, services interpreted in Spanish, Creole, and then I think maybe Russian. But it was a very handy physical piece of paper, and it actually gave you a little bit of information about each of them as opposed to just a list. I think one of the things that we had seen before is that if you have a list of items but people don't know anything about the organizations, they're unlikely to start cold calling.
Right.
So it's even like when you have 211, call 211, call all these different places for if you have a crisis, but you don't really know which one is the right one for you because there isn't always that much information.
Is it, I mean, maybe it's born out of the volunteer fair. Like, is it too much to take on making something like that? Like, say cost is not an issue, and then convening in some way at the library or something to further describe to people each thing. Maybe we can stream it on channel 79 or something.
Yeah. In some way of doing a better job of communicating what the resources are, what the organizations are, and how to differentiate this statement.
You just keep coming back to that, communicating what the resources are.
And that feels like what all the priorities are. It's about communication.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like, I think communicating what the resources are and also what the programming is.
Right.
Like what Lapham does versus. I mean, I could kind of see doing something like that coming from the Human Services Department. Going to, whatever.
Another way, I guess, that we could think about the recommendations is we've identified a gap or we've identified a need, and maybe one way to approach it would be we should solicit ideas from interested parties
Mhm.
as to how we can best as a town collectively, we can best address this gap or this need.
Mhm.
So that we don't necessarily say we've got the answer.
Right.
What came out of the focus group was there are these gaps.
Mhm.
And so, the next steps, fortunately or unfortunately, would be we would meet, one or more of us would meet with like Behavioral Alliance or meet with some of the others.
Use Aggie and,
We
stay
could start
put,
with
yeah.
and start
Definitely.
and with
Yeah, well, obviously Marcy would play a key
with
role.
Amy, but saying that, here is this gap, we have some ideas how we might do this, but we really need to talk to people who are, we're sort of at the 5,000 foot level, we need to talk to the people who are at ground level.
Right,
Yeah. No, I think that convening sort of all relevant parties is crucial before we make anything, especially print anything.
oh, yeah.
And then maybe they speak. Like if we do something at the library or something, maybe a representative from each organization actually explains what they have to offer to people,
Yeah,
and that's recorded.
one thing I learned when I worked at St. Put is food and drink are really good.
Yeah, it's true. It's
So we
true.
could probably do a lunch and learn at the at LAPA
Yeah.
or the library and just, have like a couple people on a panel talk about, research. I mean, that's down the road, but I could see doing something that's like a kind of a fun thing, but also educational. So if people, I mean, a lot of times with those, people just see that there's food and they wander in and they sit down. But then they get some information. But the more you talk, I think the results of the focus group and the recommendations of the focus groups is probably where we ought to start. We want to go out and talk to other people and say, it looks like there are gaps here. What do you think? Right?
Mhm.
The groups and do it, not do big round table, just do, ones or small.
Yeah.
Because we could take something like, so the recommendation was help promote awareness of mental health supports. For listen, but for example, help promote gathering, centralizing, and marketing information about local organizations, programs, and activities in both digital and print form. We could turn it slightly into, we've identified a gap that while there's a ton of information, some of it is centralized and much of it is specific to individual organizations.
Right.
And, we should work with interested parties to see if there's a better way of information sharing and, both in digital and print form, so that more people are aware of the opportunities that are available, and then people we could say.
Well,
I was just picking.
Yeah, no, I really like that.
Um,
I think,
because I think
I think that's.
we don't want Marcy to think that she's supposed to do it all.
No.
Right,
and she might be able to say, well, actually,
we're doing all
this would be one way to plug that gap.
this.
Or we were thinking of doing X, or we're already doing X.
Right. I mean, that you could say the same thing if you went and talked to other agencies or talked to behavioral health. I mean, committee, this is what we think is important. They'll say, well, this is being happened this way or that way.
Yeah. So we're at a slight, from a technical perspective, we're at a slight disadvantage because if you and I email with each other, that's technically a meeting. And it has to be made available as public record.
If we're emailing about
any of this stuff.
Right.
Well, now.
So we'll ignore what's gone before. I just learned about this the other night, because we're not only a quorum, we're the full committee, subcommittee.
Well, when you meet, you have a quorum.
So I'm trying to figure out the best way to
we should
finalize our recommendations.
Yeah. We should try and do as much as we can right here.
Yeah.
In terms of action steps, right? Because if the step is to go in with Marcy, that doesn't have to be a public meeting.
I don't think so.
And so.
I guess is it too confusing to lump the mental health supports and that aspect with all the other programming and offerings?
Uh,
And that's
I
a
don't, I
really
don't,
good question.
I don't think so, but I think you can also, I think we could differentiate between programming, which is really wellness,
Yeah,
versus programming, which would be, where are the non-crisis,
right,
Resources, yeah.
you know,
right.
resources, so that, and I think if they're physical, you're gonna go see your your primary care physician or your specialist. The question is that if it's a behavioral health issue, you may or may not talk to your primary care physician about it, and if not, where are places that you can turn or go?
Right.
I mean,
So kind of saying there are two different things.
I
I
think
like
so.
wellness. I think wellness is a really good way to describe it.
And
Yeah.
then wellness to me is, it could be part of,
Yeah,
if
that's
it's a,
tough.
but it could also be separate from the social connectivity aspect stuff.
So just
Right.
physical health.
So some people will go to a wellness program at Lapham, but they're doing it not only for the benefit of
Right.
the information and also the community, because some of their other friends are going, or they see people
Right.
that they know, or they just get free coffee.
No, I mean, they have like talk, and there's food, that they talk about supplements, there's a, there's
Yeah.
a program on supplements, that's wellness, but it's also a social kind of activity. I went to one on whether to buy organic or not, Shannon did it, it was great, and the first time I went to the grocery store, I went crazy buying organic, but yeah, but it was just really interesting, just to learn the science of it, she knew the science so well, and
Mm-hmm.
also the health aspect of it, so I think you're right, I think there are probably a lot of things that are kind
Yeah.
of both.
And if we create like a promotional material, like the majority of it is probably the actual programming and activities that fall under both, but then maybe the end is like a call out to the more sort of intensive resources,
Mhm.
including
Oh, I think
Silver Hill.
about like, yeah, like Silver Hill, whatever, behavioral things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what we could do is, I could take a crack. We'll just treat it as a meeting, so we can create a separate email chain. And when we're done, we can just have them post it as a meeting.
Oh,
You know,
really? Oh, good.
We can do that.
We can ask, I mean,
Yeah.
we should ask whoever is the
Mhm.
person, but because I think it's gonna be easier if everyone has something physical to look at.
Mhm.
Is a Google Doc a meeting?
I think I went to the,
It's
I
a
went
really
to
good
the,
question.
so I went to the presentation on
Yeah.
all of this, and I
Yeah.
think the spirit of the FOIA is that it's transparency. So I think
Yeah.
if it's a Google Doc where we're all commenting on it, it's it would be,
Yeah.
but what's hard is, do you have to show all of the different the changes? Does it have to be,
Oh,
you have to see all the track changes?
Track.
Yeah. Right.
Well, this is really good at that, should we guide us on that?
Yeah. No, I've attended a few of those FOIA meetings, and the takeaway I always get is if it's a question, yes.
Yeah, but we could find out a little bit more about it, because this is a little bit of a unique situation.
Yeah. Well,
It
it's
is
one of
good.
the things when it sort of gets in the way of collaboration.
Mhm.
We could, so
Or could we meet via Zoom? Like-
one idea is look, if we looked at Barb's
Mhm.
thing for the moment, if we just grabbed 1, 2, and 4.
Mhm.
And let's say we massage them in some way, so that and we include as part of, when we talk about promoting awareness, we get into the communication thing a little bit more in detail, talk about in print and digital and stuff, so that it does that. Because we now have the volunteer fair, that will take care of or some
opportunities for,
opportunities for people. There's also obviously like this men's club, so people join, there's,
mhm,
150 different subgroups that you can be part of and some of the other things.
yeah,
And then separately, we're gonna take care of the AARP livable community
mhm,
through the
Yeah.
separate application process. We can obviously talk about, finding the appropriate way to share the focus regarding affordable housing.
mhm,
And then, sorry, we can separately talk about in terms of promoting access to the resources that are not crisis dependent. We can
Mhm.
just say, we don't need to create anything, we just need to work with our local partners to make sure that the information is readily available and that there's enough information about the individual organizations that people can differentiate between them. So if we had those as our stuff, does that sort of cover it?
so the last
I
thing,
think
oh, go ahead, Lisa.
so. I think so. What would you say?
No, I was just gonna ask, the last thing you're talking about is really just, here's what's happening at LAPM and non-crisis dependent, you mean activities or
Well,
what do you mean like
if you go on the Health and
wellness?
Human Services website today, it will give you resources for behavioral health stuff.
Okay,
But I don't think it really goes into much detail, so,
so just expand that.
it'll.
Oh, I see what you're saying,
what I'm
behavioral health, but not crisis.
Yeah, but we can,
So,
but, okay, so what is
I get it.
Behavioral Health Alliance doing? Is what Laurel House doing really
Mhm.
gonna subsume what some of these other groups have done or take it to the next level? Or is it, here's a list of organizations, but if you're not sure, you can always call Laurel House and
Mhm.
they're a great resource for doing it.
Mhm.
I think it's more. In some respects, that's where I think putting the onus on Marcy or the Behavioral Health Alliance would say, do you guys feel that when we talk to seniors, they were unsure where to go. And if they just see a list of organizations and they don't know anything more about it and they're not getting a referral from someone that they trust, from a trusted resource, they're not going to cold call. So
Yeah,
what, do what's a better way of presenting this information to the community so that
to that
People
age, yeah, to this cohort, yeah.
and
Yeah.
and who knows, you could ask a social worker at the inn and maybe they've got a great resource and they just haven't shared it with anybody.
Mhm.
So they've got, Miss Smith, who's 87, is suffering from anxiety, and they've got a great set of resources to hook her up with. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I almost see like whatever we make, like we could maybe write a letter to the editor or something, alerting people to the fact that whatever it is exists. And then like maybe one paragraph is we just want to mention that that senior housing is top of mind, even though it's out of the purview.
Yeah,
Maybe see if that sparks a conversation.
yeah,
it's a good idea, really good idea.
because we could. Jim had a lot of ideas around telehealth, telemed, AI. That's sort of outside of my expertise, but is there anything that we should think about including or?
My feeling on that one, if we do anything, is we meet with the legislators that represent New Canaan and we tell them about the focus group findings. Telehealth, I don't know if it's going to exist at least for the rest of Trump's term, right? Because it's almost impossible to get through Medicare and Medicaid at this point. If your provider's out of state, like I think it's just not that it's not worthy to look into all of those things. I don't know how much traction we're going to get when I don't know if you've had to call the insurance department in the state recently, but they're like, we have no idea what's going on. It's a mess.
I
And
mean,
so maybe more from a policy, like more just like we want, these are the things that people in New Canaan want on your radar. This is what you should be pushing for. And someone like Lucy's great because she's on various
I mean,
committees.
it didn't come out of the focus group.
That's
No,
true too. That's true too.
So it was
That's
clearly,
a Jim legacy thing, which is its own.
right, which doesn't have to route itself through this.
Right,
It's
right.
still, as a human services commission, we can still, working with Marcy or Amy, monitor, developments in the telehealth space, or certainly Russ will be monitoring the.
Russ can really, yeah.
Russ.
So it doesn't have to come through this, it was more.
Yeah. And Andrew Gerber also, he does
Yeah.
a lot of talking to Hartford. Because they're trying to get everything in that out of network or out of pocket bracket, they're trying to get covered.
Right, no, yeah.
And so that doesn't have to be us either. I mean, I think it's good to send your testimony in or talk to them and let them, because anytime you touch a legislator, they have to record that as having happened. So and then that's great because once they speak to it, they can say, I was contacted about it. So that there's utility to it. But to your point, this isn't under the focus group.
But also, I just remembered I was at the Behavioral Health Alliance meeting, and afterwards we had different groups that had different concerns or areas of interest, and one was advocacy. And Andrew was leading the discussion.
Yeah.
And basically talking about just what your insurance, trying to make things more affordable for people. So
And he wants help with that.
I feel like, that's already happening, so we could definitely talk to him and say, what are you doing?
And I think,
can we do anything to help?
I think whatever we come up with as a committee, I think one of the first places that we should be going is in front of the Behavioral Health Alliance.
Right.
To say, here's what the findings were, here's at least what we were thinking about in terms of recommendations.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think?
That's a great idea.
So that, we will have vetted it through Marcy and Amy, and then once we get through the committee is then go and present it, because that's supposed to be, they're obviously have a broader remit. It's not just seniors, and some of our things, behavioral health, they're outside the scope.
And then they meet again like in June or something. It's a long time till they meet again, so that would really give us time. To come up with some recommendations, and they had different agencies. You were there, right? Talking and.
I've actually never been to one.
Oh, you haven't been to one? Oh.
Yeah, I was at the volunteer fair.
Well, you can definitely join Behavioral Health Alliance. It's a group of people. You should. But you can go anyway.
That's fine. Another.
I'm just saying it's a great resource for a lot of people. But Silver Hill presented and Laura House, so that would make sense. A lot of sense.
And then I guess the additional point, Alyssa, would be to yours, which a recommendation is, sort of continue, not necessarily through specific focus groups, but look for additional ways or local partners to engage with the older adult community to be sure that they feel like they're being heard and that their needs are being addressed.
I mean, that's just a huge piece of, to me, connectivity and isolation. If you just feel like you are being heard.
So is that talking to people individually? Is that kind of what, like a focus group kind of follow up? Or is that more just publicizing?
It could even be just, like the loneliness thing that they did at Schoolhouse Apartments.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, things like that.
Okay.
I said, it's not, I think it could be anything.
Yeah.
It's just
anywhere that is like a reciprocal for being
so just making sure that those are available, those are happening.
But,
all right, so
I guess I'll put something.
Okay.
I think we just bite the bullet. I'll put something together that people can comment on, and then we'll just treat it as a special meeting or whatever.
Well, we can meet again. We can meet via Zoom. We don't have to be here. We can have to be in person. Here's something I would like to do is just go through all the different things that are happening in town, like the different programming, and just kind of make a laundry list of, if there's loneliness thing happening here, just go to all those. Would that be helpful? What the actual programs are, maybe not. We kind of know. We kind of know, but
again, there's a lot of stuff out there, but it's not centralized.
Yeah, it's like on the town calendar and the New Canaanite calendar.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking
they're good lists and they cover a lot of stuff, but
it's not really actionable to try unless you're gonna do some kind of a,
This needs to be an app, honestly.
yeah.
Like,
That's not gonna work, sorry.
no, not necessarily for the clientele, but if there was some way to search the internet and have it all consolidated for us to be able to figure out.
Right, because the problem is that as you look monthly at what's going on, and then there's next month, there's something new, and you're not.
Right, and some people don't put things up to the last
You have to
minute.
be updating that every month, and that's, now that I think about it, that's not reasonable, feasible.
Yeah, that's why I wish there was
That's-
like, well, we could set up Google alerts, I guess, but
So part of the so maybe what we do instead is I'll put something together and we plan to have a brief Zoom meeting. Let's say in 2 weeks.
Sure.
Before the next meeting, and then as the agenda, we can send out what I've.
Right. So that-
yeah,
Okay.
It's discussed what I sent out, so that when we get on the Zoom, you guys can mark it up or have whatever comments you want, and we can just do it at the time.
It's a great idea.
And then we'll be done with it, but then we don't have to worry about the communication stuff.
And then we can come up with some maybe more tangible, either next steps or recommendations. Probably not gonna be ready to make recommendations for a little while, right?
I think, well,
What do you think?
I'll try and send it out in a form that
Is ready.
once we go through it together, it's just then a question of,
I guess it's.
is it, should we wait till the April meeting so that we have a chance to talk to Marcy about it?
Oh, yeah.
And, shop it around, and then, but at least it'll be hopefully.
So what you're really looking for is to actually have kind of final recommendations that are approved and then just figure out who's gonna do, if there's work to do.
Does that make sense? Is that what,
yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, right. Good point. That's a good,
so
good plan.
so I need to, within 7 days, type up meetings?
Yeah,
Minutes and then send them to you?
Yeah. I think we're done. Are we done with our meeting? I think, yeah.
Anything else, Alyssa?
Anything else, Alyssa?
I don't think so. I would love if we could like utilize an intern.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Like this is actually a great project for an intern.
Sure.
Like once we figured out what we're doing, like the creation of a document or whatever it is.
Mhm.
all right, well,
Okay.
there being no other business, I make the motion that we. adjourn.
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Well, I gotta keep track of the time. Okay,
11:33. It helps that it's recorded. You can just go back in and
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop the record.
Okay.